Okay, to get started, all I did was select the text tool and type something out. And by default, we get Myriad Pro at 12 points, which is kind of hard to see. And I've got a 1920 by 1080 document, RGB, make it 60 points. Let's go to 72. We'll just be able to see it better. So this is how it begins, typed on the page. I'm going to hold down Option, start dragging this, and then hold down Shift so it constrains it. And then I'm going to say, you know, I kind of want this on 2 lines. So I can double click to get my text tool. Then I'm going to hit the forward delete key to get rid of that space because I don't want to deal with a space. Then I hit return. Okay, so there's step 2. I'm going to option drag this out. I just want to show you, you don't have to drag out this many times, but I do want to show you the thought process. What if it's aligned right? And as soon as I do that, as soon as I click on align right, it jumps over to where that insertion point is right here and moves it over to the right. Well, I want to drag this over and position it underneath these other ones so I can see this evolution. Now, option drag out a copy again, hold down Shift to constrain it. What if, and I'm going to double click here to get my insertion point, and then double click to highlight the word design. What if this is upper and lowercase and this is all caps because I want contrast? Now I can go under Type, Change Case, and then I have some choices. And uppercase is one of them. All right, so it's moving through here. What happens? I'm going to drag this down, and then I told you I want contrast. Now, what about I have, you know, my first name and my last name. So I'm going to double click. I'm going to get rid of that space because I have this, the capital letters, because this is upper and lowercase. Well, I can determine they're 2 different words because, hey, there's the start of the second word. Then I can make it even easier by changing the color. But for right now, I want to change the font. I want to start working with different fonts. And now I'm not going to run through all the fonts like I did in that other project. I'm just going to go ahead and select the one I want. And this is one of the ones I linked to on the Twitter page. And I'm not saying use this, I'm just saying, hey, this is a possibility. So now I'm going to option drag out a copy and come up here and zoom in a little bit so I can see what I'm doing a little better. And then this is a copy. I've already got another one right here, right? I can see my evolution. So I talked about having a different weight here. What if this is thin? What if I choose something like bold? Now there's absolutely no doubt these are 2 different words. What about design? Isn't design a long ways from the rest of the words? Can we tighten up the leading? Remember what that is? Option up arrow to tighten. And then, you know, this is all caps. This is upper and lower case. This is thin. This is bold. We have some contrast. But what about size? What about size? If I double click and then double click again, I get the word highlighted. Now remember how to decrease the size of the font. Shift, Command, less than. And then we can just hold it down and make this smaller. Yeah. And then Option up arrow to tighten up the leading. And then what if we track this out, huh? Then it's Option right arrow to track this out. Now all of a sudden, that simple text that was dumped on the page starts looking a little better. And notice that design seems like it's out a little too far. Well, we can come to the beginning of the D, double click, and we can kern. Option left arrow. I can kern this over a little bit. And suddenly, it starts looking a little better, huh? It was just text on the page a minute ago. Now what about color? What about color? We'll double click and choose a red. What about design? What if this were gray instead of black? And I don't know. We can play around with this and find different grays. What about our kerning? What if I start kerning this, tightening this up, because design is tracked out. What happens if we tighten up our kerning here? And because I have two KOs, I want to pay attention. I got minus 60 there for the first KO. I looked over and I'm going to make this minus 60, so those two match. And then of course design down here is too long, so we can adjust the tracking. And very quickly, inside of a few minutes, we have something that looks semi-pro. Is it done? No, it's not done. But this is how quickly you can arrive at a logo. Contrast, thin strokes, thick strokes, upper and lower case, all caps, tight kerning, wide tracking. Do you get it? Contrast. Contrast leads you to simple elegance. This is your task today. I'll talk some more about it in a minute in the next video. But this should get you started. This should make you start thinking, should I learn those shortcuts? That sure seemed a lot easier when you could do it with the keyboard.